The first time I met Karen, she was standing in my driveway, hands on hips, clipboard clutched like a weapon. I hadn't even finished my morning coffee before she started listing my violations. Something about my mailbox, my lawn, and apparently my attitude. There was just one problem. I wasn't even in the HOA. But Karen, oh, she wasn't about to let a technicality like that stop her. That's when I knew. This was Ward, a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind where kids ride bikes, lawns are neatly trimmed, and the biggest excitement of the week is the garbage truck making its rounds. It's peaceful, predictable, until she arrives. Karen, the self-appointed queen of the cul-de-sac, wielding a clipboard, an overinflated sense of authority, and a glare sharp enough to cut through steel. She's not just the HOA president, she's the guardian of the neighborhood's sacred order. And then there's me, a homeowner who enjoys minding their own business, maintaining a perfectly acceptable lawn, and most importantly, not even being a member of the HOA. But Karen, oh, she doesn't believe in such technicalities. To her, everyone falls under her reign. The first battle begins over something trivial. A garden gnome, a trash can left out for an extra hour, or heaven forbid, a single fallen leaf gracing my driveway. Karen plants herself on the sidewalk, hands on hips, looking at my house like it personally offended her. You do realize that your yard decor is not in compliance, right? She says, tapping her clipboard like it's a legal document. I blink. Excuse me. She lets out an exaggerated sigh as if explaining basic math to a toddler. That gnome. It's not approved by the HOA. I look at my harmless, slightly smug-looking gnome. I'm not in the HOA. Karen freezes for half a second before shaking her head. That's not how it works. I raise an eyebrow. That's exactly how it works. And just like that, I realize this is not going to be a one-time encounter. This is the beginning of a full-blown HOA war, one I never signed up for. Karen doesn't take no for an answer. It's not in her DNA. To her, authority isn't something granted, it's something seized. And she's decided that my property falls under her jurisdiction, HOA membership or not. The next morning, there's a bright yellow violation notice taped to my front door. Unauthorized lawn ornament. Immediate removal required ****. I stare at it for a full minute before laughing. She's serious. That's when I notice her standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, watching me like a hawk. I see you got my notice, she calls out, a smug grin on her face. I did, I say. And I see you still don't understand that I'm not in the HOA. Karen tuts and shakes her head. That's not the attitude we promote in this neighborhood. Rules exist for a reason. Oh, I agree, I reply, crumpling the notice in my fist. Like the rule that says you can't enforce HOA regulations on properties that aren't part of the HOA. Her smile twitches. I have authority over this community. Yeah. I tilt my head. According to who? He puffs up like a self-righteous peacock. According to me. And just like that, Karen is on a mission. Over the next few days she escalates her campaign. A second violation notice, this time 4 improper mailbox color *, which was the exact same beige as everyone else's. An early morning drive-by inspection, where she literally slows down her car to glare at my house. A passive-aggressive letter, slipped under my door, outlining that * importance of community standards *. She even tries to recruit the other neighbors, whispering about my defiance. But the cracks are already starting to show. The more ridiculous her rules, the more people begin questioning why she's acting like a suburban dictator. And the best part? I haven't even started fighting back yet. Karen expects compliance. She's used to people sighing, nodding, and fixing whatever minor violation she throws at them. But I'm not one of those people. The first time I push back, it's subtle. Instead of removing my supposedly unauthorized garden gnome, I add a second one. This one is bigger. Grinning. Staring directly at Karen's house. The next day she's back. Clipboard in hand, looking like she's preparing for battle. You're making this difficult, she says, arms folded. I sip my coffee, standing on my front porch like I have all the time in the world. I'm not in the HOA, Karen. She glares at my new gnome. That thing was not there yesterday. Correct. She inhales sharply through her nose, composing herself. I don't think you understand the severity of this. I could fine you. I take another sip. No, you can't. Karen's eye twitches. She hates this. She needs control. So she changes tactics. First she sends me a letter. Asterisk asterisk, an official-looking one with a fake HOA letterhead asterisk asterisk. Listing a variety of alleged infractions. Lawn maintenance violations. Improper window blinds. A supposed unapproved shade of blue on my front door, it's gray. I reply by sending her back a corrected version of her letter, with big red X's through every false claim and a sticky note attached that says nice try. Then she escalates to threats. This can go to collections, she warns, standing in my driveway like she owns it. Karen, I say, trying not to laugh, you can't collect non-existent HOA fines from a non-member. She stares at me, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Well, maybe I should report you to the city for code violations. Go for it. I gesture to my perfectly legal home. Let me know how that works out. For a moment she looks completely lost. She's never faced resistance before, especially not from someone who knows she has zero actual power over them. But instead of backing down, Karen does what Karen does best. She doubles down. The neighborhood is starting to notice. Karen's war against my property isn't exactly subtle, and word spreads fast when she's on a rampage. Some neighbors find it entertaining. Others are genuinely afraid of her. And then there are those who've been on the receiving end of her nonsense before. People who have been written up for things as trivial as a wind chime being too loud or a Halloween pumpkin left out a day too long. I start getting whispers of support. Tom from next door stops by while I'm mowing my lawn. He glances around like we're in a spy movie before leaning in. Last week she accused my cat of trespassing. I pause. Your cat? He nods solemnly. She said he was violating property boundaries. I blink. But it's a cat. She wanted me to put him on a leash. Another neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Patterson, shakes her head as she hands me my mail one afternoon. She wrote me up for having unapproved flower colors. I raise an eyebrow. You're kidding. She said purple clashed with the neighborhood aesthetic. I glance over at Karen's house, which has a massive, hideous lawn ornament that looks like an off-brand Greek statue. The hypocrisy is stunning. The group chat forms later that night. A small but dedicated coalition of fed-up neighbors, sharing their Karen horror stories and strategizing how to deal with her reign of terror. One thing is clear. I'm not alone. And Karen? She has no idea that the neighborhood is turning against her. Karen's control is slipping and she knows it. But instead of backing off, she does what all great petty tyrants do. She escalates to absurd levels. First, she takes her inspections to the next level. One morning, I catch her measuring my grass with a ruler. A ruler. I step outside, coffee in hand, and watch as she crouches down, muttering numbers under her breath. Need help? I ask. She jumps up like she's been caught committing a crime. I'm just making sure your lawn is within the HOA mandated height requirements. I gesture around. Karen, do I need to say it again? She grits her teeth. You're setting a bad precedent for the neighborhood. By mowing my lawn like everyone else? By refusing to respect community standards. I shake my head and go back inside, half expecting her to return with a magnifying glass. Then she starts filing fake complaints. A report to the city claiming my trash bins were left out too long. The city doesn't care. A complaint about my illegally parked car. It's in my driveway. An anonymous tip that my house is a rental property violating HOA rules. It's not a rental. Each time the authorities shrug it off, but it's clear. She's grasping at anything to force me into compliance. Her biggest stunt comes at the next HOA meeting. She walks in with a thick binder labeled Neighborhood Offenders and slams it on the table like it's a case file for a Supreme Court trial. I have documented proof of violations happening under our watch, she declares dramatically. I lean back in my chair. Karen, is my name in that binder? She lifts her chin. Absolutely. A few neighbors exchange glances. Tom whispers, I bet she's got a file on my cat. Karen starts flipping through pages, listing off grievances like she's reading the charges at a criminal trial. Lawn decor violations. Fence height disputes. Mailbox placement crimes, asterisk asterisk. It's so ridiculous that even some of the HOA board members start questioning her. And then finally someone asks the magic question. Karen, are you sure he's even in the HOA? Dead silence. Her face freezes. She stammers. That's beside the point. He's still setting a bad example. The room erupts. Karen has overplayed her hand. The more she talks, the more everyone realizes she's been on a power trip with no actual authority. And just like that, her grip on the neighborhood begins to crumble. Karen's downfall isn't immediate, but it's glorious. After the HOA meeting disaster, her authority starts to unravel. More neighbors begin pushing back, emboldened by the realization that she's been making up half the rules. The once feared clipboard of doom loses its power as people stop taking her seriously. But the best part? Karen gets caught breaking her own rules. Starts with something small. Someone notices that her own mailbox is technically unapproved. It's the wrong style, something she's fined others for. When this is pointed out, she tries to wave it off, but the HOA board is not in the mood to play favorites anymore. Then someone digs deeper. Turns out, Karen herself is in violation of multiple HOA regulations. Non-approved holiday decorations. Those awful oversized inflatables that she personally wrote others up for. Unauthorized exterior paint color. Her shutters are a slightly off shade of beige that doesn't match the HOA guidelines she enforces so strictly. A fence that extends beyond the allowed property line. Something she's forced other people to fix at their expense. The board calls a meeting. This time about her. The moment she realizes she's on the chopping block, her confidence starts to crack. This is ridiculous, she huffs, shifting in her seat. I am the HOA. You can't. We can, the HOA president interrupts. And we are. Then comes the final humiliation. The same violation notice she once so eagerly handed out is now placed in her own mailbox. For the exact infractions she accused others of. The neighborhood celebrates. Porch lights flick on. People quietly cheer. Someone even suggests throwing an end of Karen's reign block party. And for the first time ever, Karen is speechless. Karen doesn't disappear overnight, but she's defeated. Her power trip has crashed and burned, and the neighborhood is finally free from her nonsense. For a while, she tries to regain control, sending passive-aggressive emails, making one last attempt at enforcing her imaginary rules. But nobody listens anymore. The clipboard? Retired. The threats? Ignored. And then one day she moves away. No grand announcement. No dramatic farewell speech. Just a for sale sign in her yard and a noticeable lack of clipboard patrols. The neighborhood feels different, lighter. Peaceful. Lawn gnomes reappear. People relax, no longer living in fear of arbitrary citations. Tom's cat roams freely without being accused of trespassing. One evening I step onto my porch and take it all in. No Karen. No threats. No violation notices taped to my door. Just peace. As I sip my coffee, I glance at my garden gnomes, now standing proudly, undisturbed. For the first time in a long time, the neighborhood finally belongs to the people again. And we all learned an important lesson. When facing an overzealous HOA, Karen, knowledge, patience, and a little bit of pettiness will always win. How would you decorate your house if there were no HOA rules at all? Go wild. If Karen was in charge of your neighborhood, what's the first violation she'd fine you for? Do you think Karen ever realized how ridiculous she was, or is she still out there with a clipboard somewhere? If you enjoyed watching Karen's downfall as much as I did living it, make sure to smash that like button. And if you've ever had your own HOA horror story, drop it in the comments. I love reading them. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more HOA Havoc neighborhood drama, and the occasional petty revenge story. You won't want to miss what's coming next.